Hello everybody, this is Cap here, and I would like to welcome you to the 33rd video in my Beginner C++ tutorial series. In this video, I'm going to be covering class templates. So let's just get started here and go to our Solution Explorer, right click, Add, Class, Add again, and we're just going to name this temp. Alright. So the first thing we're actually going to do is erase this and just kind of forget about it for now, the .cpp file. And I'll explain why later. And I'm going to include IOStream. And using namespace std. Okay, so now we need to make this a template. So let's just say template, get our generic type here, say type name T, and by the way, you don't have to put this up here. You can also, whoops, put it down there, but the majority of the time you'll just see it up there. I know in my last tutorial I put them all on the same line, which is perfectly fine, but the majority of the time you'll see them up above here just to conserve, horizontal space. So anyways, for a class template, we need to put our definitions in our header file. And once again, I'll explain why later once we get this working here. So let's start off with template, type name T, temp T, temp. And say cout object created, and just to save time, I'm going to copy this, paste it, change this to a tilde, and just say gone. And there we have our destructor. So you need to put this before every definition. So let's go into first project here. Say temp H. That come down here, and we will say temp, and we need to say what we want that generic type to be, and we'll just say an int T, and let's see if it'll work with us here. Alrighty, so we've got our object created and destroyed, so we know so far this is working, which, by the way, I can't say it enough, test often whenever you're programming, because you don't want to get an entire class done and then run it and not be able to figure out what's wrong because there's so much in the class that could go wrong. You want to incrementally make it and test it as you go. Just thought I'd throw that out there. So the next thing we're going to do is actually create a data member to get and set. So we're going to say private, and we want it to be of type T, and we'll just say thing. So now let's say void set thing, and it'll be type T being passed in, our generic type, and just say in thing. And down here we're going to return type T, and then say get thing. Alright, and once again, just to save time, I'm going to copy this and then come down here, paste it, and set thing T in thing. And also, when you have return types, or your return types need to go in between here. In this case, it's just void, so I'll put that there. And we want to say thing equals in thing. Then I'm just going to come down here, paste that, and get thing. Say return thing, and of course, can't forget your return type, which would be T. So let's save that. Go over here and just say T dot set thing, and since this particular instance will be integer, our generic type will be integer, we'll say 2, and we'll just say cout T dot get thing, and see if this works for us. And it worked. So now we don't have to create a new class. If we wanted to do this with, say, a double or a float, we could just say temp double D and D dot set thing, go with 25.67, why not, and cout D dot get thing end L. Okay, so let's run this, and as you can see, it worked perfectly fine with double. So that's the whole power behind templates, is that when we say we want to create an object like this, it says, okay, you want an int, so therefore our generic type here is actually an int. So this will return an int, this will contain an int, and so on. Whereas if it's double, this would be double, double, double. Okay, so I hope you guys get that. I kind of explained that in the last video, but if you didn't watch that one, I would highly encourage you to go back and watch it. But anyways, moving on to why we have to have our definitions in our header file. Well, it's because, just like their name says, these are just templates. These aren't actually the methods themselves. The methods themselves haven't been created yet. And in order for it to create them, it needs to be able to see this, because this tells it that it's going to be using an int. So it needs to be able to see that it is going to be creating these methods for an int, and it needs to see the definition of the method so then it can create it. And that's why, I mean, it's kind of hard to explain really thoroughly. I would highly encourage you all to do some research outside of this tutorial. And since this is just a beginner's tutorial, I won't go too in depth. But that's basically why. But if you're like me and you like to keep things organized into your .h and .cpp files, there is still a way you can do it. So we're just going to cut this whole block here, or well, multiple blocks, and put it back in our .cpp file for temp, and include temp.h. And something that you're going to want to do to avoid compiler issues is actually at this point run it. Of course, it'll give you errors, and then actually include your temp.cpp down here. And run it. And there we go. So it's essentially still doing the same thing, just now we can have it in our .cpp file, and then just include the .cpp file down here. That way you can still keep it organized in your .h and .cpp files, which I really like to do. It's one of my, pet peeves when people don't keep it organized like that. And there's nothing wrong with just including it in the header file. It's just me, I guess. But anyways, if you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. If you have watched a few of my videos and really like them, go ahead and subscribe so you can see when I post new ones. And I would like to thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.